Well, hello there. This is Lee Thurburn, and you are on Apricot Rocket. Well, excuse me. You're on live stream Lee. I was thinking about something related to Apricot Rocket, which I'm going to share with you in just a moment. Live stream Lee is something I do Monday through Friday at 3 o'clock. Now, I will tell you right now today that if you're on LinkedIn, something happened and LinkedIn isn't streaming. So I'm going to have to record this and then I'll put it up on LinkedIn later tonight. So, but in any event, it's just kind of the way technology works, right? Well, speaking of technology, I have something exciting to share with you, and that is we've just launched a new service and a new domain called AppyRocket, AppyRock.com. AppyRocket is an app building service that is unique, totally unique. Totally unique in the sense that we have figured out a way to provide you with an extremely high quality cell phone app for your business at an unheard of price. So I'm going to recommend that you go to appyrocket.com. And in fact, wait a second, I've got the wrong thing on screen here. Let me just kind of get my bearings for just a second. Go to appyrocket.com. Let me just do this, appyrocket.com, and put that banner up. Here we go, appyrocket.com, and you'll see the information about our service. I think you're going to find it really exciting, and if you've been even remotely considering getting an app for your business, a cell phone app for your business, you are going to be blown away with what we can do for you. So why do I mention that? Well, I mention that because Apricot Rocket, which is my company that I basically call my day job, is a company devoted specifically to helping small businesses grow. And we do that a couple of ways, but really primarily helping small businesses to get customers faster, to get more customers, to make more money. Really, it's all about customers. One of the single biggest problem that most small businesses have in common is they have trouble getting enough customers. And so we help them solve that problem with the Apricot Rocket system, which is a customer acquisition, community building, and relationship nurturing technology, a lot like LinkedIn and Facebook in many respects, but different, business focused, not professional networking or social focused. It's business focused. So go to apricotrocket.com if you need more or want more customers. Go to apricotrocket.com, create a free account, check out the system, and let me know if you have any questions. I'll be glad to answer them. I'm going to get started in just a moment on our conversation that we finished up from yesterday, or that we carry over from yesterday, and that's a conversation about marketing process design. And one of the things that is common for people with marketing process design is newsletters. And I'm going to tell you about a newsletter I get from a guy that I enjoy his newsletter. I'm probably not immediately a client, but I just enjoy the newsletter. This is a guy named Dan Nelson. Dan is a genealogist, and he researches people's family history, family tree, and in the process comes across some amazing stories about people that, you just wouldn't know otherwise. And at the same time, he also uncovers historically interesting facts. I'm a bit of a history buff. I like reading historical novels, and I believe that if you don't study history, you're doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past. You're going to create all new ones if you don't, which we're going to do anyway. But in any event, Dan sends out a newsletter every 2 weeks, and they're always a fascinating read. Go to livestreamlee.com if you're interested in getting a newsletter. Go to livestreamlee.com, click on the Dan Nelson link. That'll take you to his website. You can sign up for his newsletter. If you decide you don't like it, you can unsubscribe. Dan's not going to fill your inbox with junk. It's every 2 weeks, and it's a good read. Dan is a master storyteller. You're going to like the newsletter if you like that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's what that's all about. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into continuing our conversation from yesterday about, let's get rid of Dan here. There we go. Continue our conversation about marketing process design. So yesterday, let me go ahead and turn this other thing off because it kind of gets in the way. Yesterday, we talked about a variety of considerations, factors, things you need to consider, like the stage of the business life cycle and what kind of business. Is it a B2B or a B2C business? We talked about the value of the sale and the sales cycle time and the repeat purchase cycle time, margins. These are a few, not by any means all, but a few of the primary concerns or considerations that you're going to have when you're developing a marketing process. But in addition to that, you need to be thinking about the fundamental 5-step process of creating a marketing process. Basically, I call this the consumer perception process, and it dovetails extremely well with a marketing process design. The first thing is you need to have awareness because customers can't buy from you unless they know who you are. The second thing, you need to have top of mind awareness because people aren't going to buy from you unless they actually think of you. The third thing you need to have is a strong positive image. You need to be perceived as an expert because if they don't have a positive image of you when they think of you, they're not going to call you. And then the final thing, number 4, is they have to actually believe that not only are you an expert, but that you're dependable, that they can count on you. They can have confidence and trust that you will complete the job as expected and deliver as expected and hoped for. Only then will you get to step number 5, which is the purchase. But it all starts with bullet point number 1, a little pinky bullet point here, and that is, how do you build awareness? And so generally speaking, I've divided awareness into 2 sets of broad-based options. I can think of them as traditional and non-traditional or traditional and digital media. But the easiest way to do it is to think of it as digital media options and non-digital media options. And as you look at the options that you see on the screen here, generally speaking, the big difference between the 2 of them is the degree of interactivity that's involved. On the right-hand side, your non-digital options are, for the most part, not directly interactive. Now, direct mail, yeah, somebody can write you a letter back, but they're not going to do that. Newspapers, they could call you or write you in an ad, but it's not in sort of immediately, extemporaneously interactive. Same thing with magazines and radio and television, whether it's broadcast or cable. Product placement in movies or on social media websites, influencers, again, typically not immediately interactive. And direct sales. Now, direct sales, where you actually have a salesperson going out and knocking on doors, or you have a business where people come in and you have a salesperson, whether it's you or somebody you hire, that's interactive, and that's certainly very common, but it certainly falls in the non-digital media options. And there are other things. There's things like billboards and expositions or exhibits that you can go to, where an industry convention, so to speak, and you have exhibitor booths, vendor booths. Those are all options as well. I probably need to add them to the list, and I will. But you also have digital media, and digital is interactive, and most of these things you're very well familiar with. So rather than spend a lot of time kind of going through these, I thought what might be interesting is to take an example of how we might think about how we analyze a company. And so what I'm going to try to do is try to get this adjusted a little bit more. So I'm taking the example of a home services industry participant. I'm choosing a handyman as the example. I think over the next couple of weeks, we might go through a variety of different examples and talk about marketing processes for different kinds of businesses. But generally speaking, I thought we would start with a handyman as our first example. And so I've listed out for our hypothetical person here starting a business some basic information about them. And I've basically said that in this case, we're going to say that the stage of the business life cycle is early, which means they're going to be very focused heavily on prospecting and advertising and generating leads, lead generation. The type of business is a primarily business to consumer style business, and which means that they're going to generally be mass market oriented because it's going to be tough for them to be able to determine with any degree of accuracy who is actually in need of a service right now. In terms of the value of the sale, they're typically going to be small to medium size. You know, it might be a porch. Now, when I say small to medium size, anywhere from a few $100s, things like hanging a ceiling light or repairing a baseboard that got hit, or, you know, those are very minor things, hanging a door, painting a room, that kind of stuff. These are typical handyman things. And the value, the charge for those kinds of services is relatively small. Now, handymen also get involved in larger projects like building porches and you know, installing floors and things like that. So depending on the handyman and what you need and what they can do, this isn't necessarily in the realm of home remodeling, but I'm thinking that the handyman services can literally range from under $100 for a simple, like hanging a light, a ceiling, you know, a light in a ceiling, or installing a ceiling fan, on up to $2,000 or $3,000. So that's kind of a small to medium sized purchase. From a sales cycle time perspective, most handymen probably have relatively short sales cycles. It's not impulse, because you don't just see a handyman and go, oh, wow, I just thought of something I need from you. You tend to do a little bit of search and want to talk to a few people, get some referrals before you hire a handyman. So there's a little bit of thought involved in it, but it's not a very long sales cycle. Now, regarding the repeat purchase cycle time, it is typically either medium to long. Now, you certainly can run into somebody that has a handyman that has a project that has a whole series of projects, and they'll need you for a while. But once you're done with that sequence of projects, once you're finished with that customer, generally speaking, they're not going to need your services for a period of time until something else breaks or some new project comes up. So it's medium to long term for a repeat purchase cycle. And then when we look at the margins, typically handymen have relatively, you know, sort of medium-sized margins. They're not extremely profitable. You can't, you know, charge $5,000 for a, you know, to install a ceiling fan in most homes, because it's simply, you know, I mean, you've got to compete with others, and so people are price sensitive. So your margins are modest, not exorbitant, but they're also not minimal. And so this kind of sets the parameters of our thought process for what kind of marketing can we engage in. Now, some of the things I didn't talk about here is the lifetime value of a customer. We're just not going to quite have time to get into every single thing that you would want to think about. So what I've done here is I've sort of summarized the things that apply to a handyman that is in the early stage. I've just sort of shortened it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the thought process, and let me just move this. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Let's just move this up here. And I think I'm going to reduce the size just a little bit. I'll knock it down one bullet point. As you can see, I'm kind of live in my technology here. So, but I think hopefully you can see these things. So the 4 stages I've got across the top: awareness, top of mind awareness, expertise, and trust. So for a handyman that's in the early stage of business, you're probably going to want to generate awareness with relatively inexpensive and efficient you know, marketing mechanisms. Church bulletins come to mind. If you're active in your church, then probably that's a pretty good source of work. I, in fact, know a couple of handymen that don't even work outside of their church because the people in their church keep them so busy. They're as busy as they want to be. There are neighborhood apps like Nextdoor, social media apps like Facebook and Nextdoor, which are great ways for you to make your services known in your immediate neighborhood, and or neighborhoods that are contiguous to your immediate neighborhood. These are great ways. Social media, of course, Facebook. You can write about things and post pictures. I mean, so social media. Let's just do this. I'm going to just expand this. I'm going to add social media. Excuse me, social media. I have a little bit of a tickle in my throat today, allergies. So, but also things that you can do that are a little bit more active, like door hangers. You can, put door hangers out in a neighborhood. Certainly during the springtime, a lot of that goes on. You can advertise in things like a Valpak and ad pages and things like that. And these are relatively inexpensive ways to be able to expand the size of your market. You can also do things like Google pay-per-click advertisements. That's can be an effective and efficient way of getting new clients. Now, when you work kind of down the list from the free stuff like church bulletins, posting in Nextdoor, social media groups, that kind of stuff, those are the easiest ways for you to actually get started. Now, these things though require your direct participation. Now, when you start to get into things and networking groups as well, when you start getting into things like Valpak and door hangers, you can actually hire people. You can also send out mail, so you can start ramping up. Now, in the earliest phases of starting your business, you generate top of mind awareness pretty much exactly the same way. So I'm just going to copy these ideas and paste them over here. You generate top of mind awareness by really just consistently using the same media to keep that message in front of the audience that you have. You've got to keep in mind that aside from referrals, which are powerful, but until you have some business, you can't get any referrals. If you're starting from scratch, aside from your personal network of people that you know, you have to wait till you build your referral base. And so things like these, like church bulletins and so on, consistently being present is going to be required, because there are so many different studies that indicate the average person needs to see a name, they need to see an image, they need to hear a message 6 to 10 times before they're going to remember it and think about it. So building top of mind awareness requires either an investment of time and or money to be able to elevate that top of mind awareness. So when you're starting your business from scratch, these are essential steps that you've got to engage in. Now, people aren't going to buy from you unless they think of you as an expert. And so from that perspective, there are a number of things that you can do to make yourself seem like an expert. I'm going to add signage, and I'm thinking car signage. I'm going to add clothing, branded clothing logos like you see I have on. If you're a handyman and you routinely show up with a nice shirt with your logo on it, you look professional, you can look like a much more established company, a professional company, and provide the image that exudes expertise as well as promotes trust, simply by how you brand yourself, how you brand your truck. If you show up in an old truck that's all beat up, looks like Chuck in a truck just arrived, you're going to have trouble convincing people that you're an expert. If you have a nice looking truck that has either a magnetic sign on the side or it's nicely wrapped, you're going to look like you are established and know what you're doing. Now, depending upon what you have in the way of funds, you may have to wait till you've done a few jobs before you can afford that. But the point is these are the kinds of things that build the perception of expertise and helps to promote trust. Posting content, and I use content posts because you can put them on blogs, you can put them on your website, you can put them on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. There's all kinds of places where you can put content out there. And if you're a handyman, there's really sort of two types of content that you should be thinking about posting. One is you should be thinking about posting before and after pictures when you have them. So every job that you have, you should think to take a before and an after photo and keep that for your marketing, because as you build a repertoire of jobs, this is going to be one of your most powerful marketing tools, simply showing people what you can do. But you can post content. You can create videos where maybe you explain things to people. You can do DIY videos, DIY articles. In fact, YouTube and Instagram and even TikTok are wonderful places for you to be able to provide short videos showing how you do things. And this is the kind of stuff that really impresses a lot of people, and it's very inexpensive. It just takes your time. And it does take a little technology acclimation for you to be able to become proficient at these things. But this is also the kind of thing that as your revenue starts to grow, you can take the photos and then you can hand it off to a virtual assistant or somebody, an administrative assistant, as you build the funds to start helping build an actual business. The point is you want to get to the point where you can work on the business instead of working in the business. Now, it'll be a while before you can afford to hire additional handyman type of people. But one of your first hires can be an administrative or virtual assistant or a marketing assistant or an intern to be able to help you to take the before and after photos and create content and put it out there so that people can see your expertise. You have to showcase your expertise before people will want to buy from you. And then people also want to trust you. And so from a trust perspective, I'm going to go ahead and add brand image in here. So your brand image, which includes things like signage and the model and make and how new is your truck and do you show up looking like a professional? I mean, these are brand image things that actually have a powerful impact on building a perception of trustworthiness in the mind of your prospective client. Then again, consistency. And I'm talking about consistency along the entire preceding 3 steps. Having a consistent messaging process in place. Having a consistent brand that you show up and that you constantly are talking about your expertise. Producing, of course, now this is the really meat of the matter here, is producing high quality results that lead to testimonials and positive reviews. Now, until you start getting some of these, you can't really leverage them. But I'm going to presume that you do provide a high quality service and that people are happy. And as a result, they're not only happy to give you testimonials, but they'll also be willing to make referrals. Now, you're going to want to have these testimonials and reviews on your website. You should have a website. That's an inexpensive way to be able to have like an online brochure. Whether it does any more than that, you should have one of those. But you also might want to have a Google page and a Google business page so that people can review you on Google. That's probably really a kind of a next most important thing. You're going to want to have maybe a Yelp page. Now, Yelp is a bit of a, I have a lot of hot and cold feelings about Yelp. Kind of think of them as the Yelp mafia, but that can be expensive, and so can things like Angie's List and another, number of those kinds of things. But those things can be helpful to you, Thumbtack and other things can be helpful to you, but they start to cost you more money. So this is a sequence of the things that are pretty straightforward for an early stage business. Now, for a business that is more in the mid to later or more mature stages, you're going to see a shift in these kinds of things. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick up there tomorrow. We're going to talk about the handyman business in the mid to mature stage of the life cycle. And we're going to compare how the evolution of a marketing process would look and what kinds of things you would start looking at. And then we're going to do this for a couple of other industries as well, a couple of other businesses. And hopefully, as we go through this process, you'll start to see what kind of process design sort of steps you would string together. Ultimately, process is really all about automation, where you can literally just have the people and the process steps in place so that all you really do is pour money into the process at one end, and you get profitable revenue out at the other. And when I'm talking about putting money in one end and getting revenue out the other, I'm talking about something like this. You spend $1 and you make $5 within a week to a month. Now, if you could spend $1 and make $5, and I'm talking about $5 in profit, if you could spend $1 and make $5 in a week to a month, I think the question then starts to become, how fast can you pour money into the marketing? Well, that's where we ultimately want to get you to, so that you literally can just sort of turn the dial of open the spigot of money, and your marketing will ramp up at an accelerating rate. Your profitability will ramp up at a similar rate, and you can turn around and have a business that you're literally managing a business instead of working in the business. And that's the goal that we're going to try to get you to. All right. I hope you have found this to be interesting and maybe even helpful. So I'm going to end our meeting today with a conversation about something that happens a lot in the world of business. And I'm going to tell you, I can't tell you how many times I've run across business people that have hit roadblocks that either did or almost put them out of business. And it almost always comes from they didn't know something. So it's what you don't know that's going to get you. You know, you can think of it as Murphy's Law, but I just think of it as you don't know what you don't know. But I know a guy that does know what you don't know, and his name is Carlos Cantu. And you hear me talk about him if you're a fan or a frequent watcher of this program. And the reason you hear me talk about him is because Carlos is a risk management expert, a commercial risk management expert. And one of the things that you have to be concerned about as a business owner is when something unexpected and disastrous happens to your business, are you prepared to withstand that catastrophe? Well, that's the business Carlos is in. And I'm going to tell you, he's going to know about risks that you didn't think about. And he's going to be able to help you protect your business from those risks. Go to livestreamlee.com and click on the Carlos Cantu button and learn about Carlos, and you'll see his phone number. You can get in touch with him. Carlos is a great guy. You will enjoy getting to know Carlos, and you will find him to be a wealth of knowledge and the kind of person that literally can save your bacon. So Carlos Cantu, good guy to know. Go to livestreamlee.com, find the Carlos Cantu button, and click on it. All right. Last but not least, again, a reminder, go to apricotrocket.com, click on the get a free account button. There's a form right there on the page. Just fill it out. It doesn't cost you anything. No credit card required. You can start using our technology. And while you're there, look for and find the Apricot button. Click there to learn about our app business, where we help you get an app for your business for just a couple $100. It's an amazing deal. So I hope you check it out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow, where we talk about more about business, and we'll have another process analysis for business.